What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update, and a bit of a significant and substantial one for you today, as we've got two moves that look like they're nearing their conclusion. We're going to start off with Emerson Royal. Fabrizio Romano gave us the here we go today. Emerson Royal to AC Milan. Here we go. Deal in place for total package in excess of 15 million euros from Spurs. Agreement with Emerson reached in May, as he only wanted Milan despite 4 to 5 proposals. Travel being planned as Emerson leaves Tottenham to join the Milan project. Matti Moretto also said that it's done. Emerson to Milan, operation around 15 million euros, including bonuses. However, Alistair Gold, in true Alistair Gold fashion, says talks ongoing between Milan and Spurs over Emerson Royal. Not quite done yet, but finally appears to be moving in that direction. Can't Ali Gold? I mean, it's supposed to be his day off and it's supposed to be his birthday today. Happy birthday, Ali, by the way. Can't he just fall in line?
Look, if there's a here we go, that suggests to me that it's pretty much done at this point. Although, so Matteo Moretto is saying 15 million including add-ons, and Romano is saying a bit different, is he?
He's saying total package in excess of 15 million euros.
So he's saying a bit more, which is, I think, what he originally said was like 15 million plus 2 million in add-ons. Anyway, look, regardless, it's not like the greatest fee. I think we were expecting at the beginning of the window at least 20 million euros, at least in a total package. So Tottenham have looked like they've compromised here on the price. I think it's a good deal for AC Milan. I do think they're getting a good defender for a fairly cheap fee at a decent age as well. It's interesting. I'm just reading Ben Jacobs because he said yesterday that Emerson's no longer a priority, insinuating that maybe they're moving on from Emerson and they're not looking to get him. He said today that they are now clearly moving forward with Emerson, but there's a lot of internal conflict whether Emerson fits in at AC Milan, which is what we spoke about, isn't it? When Fonseca was appointed manager of AC Milan, we didn't feel like Emerson really the right fit for that kind of way they want to play, which clearly there's a lot of conflict internally at AC Milan whether that is the case, but it looks like they've moved forward from there. I guess the deal was just too good. I do think it's a really good fee for Emerson Royal. I think they're getting a really good defensive fullback for if that's what they're looking for that kind of price. And I do think he's probably worth around 20 million euros. So I do think we've undersold him, but we're a week away from the season starting. We've got to get a move on with outgoings to thin the squad so we could make room for transfers. So, look, for me, it's a sake of a few million. I'm not too mad about it, and means we hopefully can start getting a move on with these outgoings.
Look, Spurs have done a really good job this summer in getting the players out the door. And Spurs of yesteryear would have held on for that extra 5 million, for that extra 7 million, and probably would have kept Emerson around. So I'm happy that we have, made those kind of losses in terms of the transfer just to get the player out the door and get the squad that we want for next season. So that's the main thing, in my opinion. I saw a tweet before saying that Fonseca, Emerson playing under Fonseca, Paratici's dream finally being realised.
Exactly. That was the original plan. Shame it's not happening at Tottenham.
Yeah, but look, we got to remember Emerson for what he was. Always wore his heart on his sleeve, always gave 100%, always looking to do that no-look pass. I think he was a good servant to the football club. I just don't think he fitted exactly what he wanted to do here.
Yeah, definitely a cult hero. Someone who always had a big smile on his face. Someone who is similar to Sissoko, started off as a bit of figure of fun and then kind of earned a bit of respect with some good performances and earned his way into the team. But at the end of the day, especially under Ange, if we're looking to play a certain way, Emerson was never really going to fit that. So I do think it's the right thing for him to leave. But the dressing room is definitely losing a good character. So he will be missed, I'm sure, at Tottenham.
Did he score the first goal of the Ange era, or was it the second?
It was the second. The first one was Romero. Yeah, it's true. He scored that goal from outside the box in the first game, which no one could believe at the time. But yeah, I think he will be remembered fondly. I'm sure he'll be welcomed back at White Hart Lane or at Tottenham Stadium should he ever return as an AC Milan player. I'm sure he as well. It's a good move for him going to Serie A. I think he'll work to a league that will suit him. But whether AC Milan, the way they want to play under Fonseca, suits him remains to be seen.
Yeah, so that's that. I'm sure we'll get a confirmation in the next 48 hours or 24 hours, whenever it may be. But apparently he has made travel plans to get to Milan, I think, at some point today or tomorrow. But let's get into the incoming transfer news of the day regarding Dominic Solanke, and this one has progressed massively as Duncan Castles actually first broke, saying that he understands that Bournemouth have agreed to sell Dominic Solanke to Tottenham for a club record fee. Bournemouth had been opening to selling the striker this window, as he reported earlier. And then David Ornstein chimed in and he said, Bournemouth have agreed to sell Dominic Solanke for a club record fee, and talks with Tottenham Hotspur continue to finalise the transfer. Personal terms in place, and 26-year-old desperate to complete a move from Bournemouth to Tottenham. And then Ali Gold was speaking about it, and he says, I'm just trying to get the thread up. He says, Spurs closing in on a deal with Bournemouth for Dominic Solanke, and plenty of positivity about getting the transfer sealed, as Postecoglou told him in Korea. I think for us, what's more important is the type of striker you get. We want to play in a certain way. We demand certain things from a physical perspective, from the technical aspects of it, and it's going to be a striker that fits that mold. It's still the area of the park where we're probably the thinnest when I talk about the squad-wise, so obviously that's a focus for us. And then he goes on to say, understand Solanke has shown a big desire to play for Tottenham. As in the quotes I put out yesterday from the Postecoglou chat, that's the huge thing for the Australian. Solanke is going to be a major presence up front in this system with his pressing and battling and finishing. So I think that's all true, what Alistair Gold says. And I think there's been a lot of negativity surrounding this Solanke transfer to Tottenham. And I can understand why to a certain extent, but when you look into it, the amount of goals he scored last year, all the attributes that he has, all point towards him really fitting into this system.
Definitely, and I do think a large part of the negativity is simply just because he's not a trendy name. I do think if he was called Dominio Solanquinho and he played in La Liga and he scored 19 goals, I think it would be a lot more positivity. If he came from like Valencia or something, I think if he was a lot more of a trendy name, people would be a lot more positive. But the fact he's Dominic Solanke, he's English, and he's a player who previously didn't do too well at Chelsea and Liverpool. I think that's led a lot of people to think, is this a bit underwhelming? But as I've said, like last 4 seasons, including in being in the Championship, it's 94 goal contributions in 157 games. So this guy's in red hot form. He in terms of the profile of player that we're looking for, he's big, he's physical, he's got a really good hold up play. As I've said, I remember watching him very closely in a game, even that Bournemouth lost. They lost 3-0 away at Arsenal. But I remember I was watching him very closely in that game, and he was giving their centre-backs a really torrid time. They really struggled to deal with him. And he was really unlucky on that day not to got a goal and an assist on that day. And I think physically they were getting the ball to him. He was holding it up and he was bringing other players into play. He's clearly learned to be a lot more clinical in this league, especially under a more offensive manager like Iraola. When he gets the chances, he usually gobbles them up. And he's learned a way of finding a finish, whether it be with his head, left foot, right foot. Think technically his technical finishing has really improved, and he's clearly a lot more confident than he used to be in his younger years, and he's really developing into himself, and I think he's coming into his own now. So I think for me it's really exciting, and there aren't many strikers like him who are available right now in the striker market, and if we're looking to bring someone in, I think he's one of the ideal candidates, to be honest. And yes, you could argue this is his first a real amazing season in a top league, which is probably true, but we could be getting him at a good time. And I think as well, you could also argue this is the first time he's played under a really offensive manager in the Premier League as well, since coming from the Championship, when after that season, he scored 29 league goals in the Championship. One other thing is really positive, is very injury-free. He has a lot of availability. I think he played all 38 Premier League games last season. I was looking back at his previous season before that, he played 33. And then the season before that, I think he played every game in the Championship. I think it's at 46. He played all 46 games. So this is a guy who's always available, pretty much. He very rarely gets injured. He can be a threat in behind, and he can be a threat with the hold-up play. And what I do think as well is what will give us is if there are occasions where the build-up play is not working too well and we're struggling to beat an opposition press, we can go direct to him and he can hold the ball up and he can give us another avenue of attack. And you look at the cutbacks that we seem to form with our wingers, I think he's going to be perfect for that. He's going to be perfect to gobble those kind of chances up. And as well, if we're struggling to get the cutbacks, we could always swing it into him. I think that's something that definitely when we have Son up front, if we're not getting those cutbacks, we seem to lack ideas because we can't really swing the ball into the box to try and get him to head it. Whereas with Solanke, we definitely can. And with the news that Richarlison's staying, I think that's really great. Like him and Solanke battling it out for that number one position. Two strikers who I think can both really fit the system, and two strikers who I think are good quality and can have proven can score goals in the Premier League. I think we've got two really good strikers there, in my opinion, and that's really, really positive. So I'm super excited about bringing Solanke through the door.
Solanke got 19 goals last season in this Spurs team. What's your prediction for this coming season?
Yeah, I mean, it's depending on how much we are going to rotate him and Richarlison. I think definitely between 15 and 20 should be pretty much the benchmark. If Richarlison can match his or even improve on his 11 goals last season, if he can stay a bit fit, then that's perfect. If we can get him to like that 20 goal mark, I think that I wouldn't sit here and expect him to be on just because he got 19 doesn't mean he's bound to get 30 for Spurs necessarily, but I think 20 is definitely a realistic target, and I wouldn't be surprised if he improves on that. And if Richarlison can improve on his 11, then that's really the goals right there in terms of the striking position. Plus, if you can add in some goals from Sonny as well, if he ever fills in up front, and obviously he's going to fit on the left, I think there are definitely goals here.
I just feel like we're getting a really underrated striker in here that just fits exactly what we're trying to do. And I feel like he is going to get a lot of goals here. And I think the chances that we lay on, I mean, how many of those sitters did Richarlison miss last season, particularly in the first half of the season when he wasn't completely at it? And I think Solanke will gobble those up for fun. I really believe that. And if he's not working, you can bring on Richarlison. It's really good options to have, like you say. You're looking at the front line now. On the left, you probably assume it's Son and Werner. In the number 9, it's Solanke and Richarlison. On the right, there is a clear opening, isn't there, for a new signing to come in, where there'd be Brennan Johnson on the right with someone else. If you're assuming Decky is going to play in the central figures and Solomon is going to go out on loan or a transfer. So I really hope we do get that right winger in from now before the end of the window.
Yeah, let's say it is a Neto, and you just look at those options, and all of a sudden that front line is really coming together. And there seems to be options all around the forward line, versatile options as well. You've also got Decky, who could fill in in a few of those roles in the number 9 and on the right hand side as well if need be. But looks like he's going to be playing in midfield for the predominantly of his time next season. But all of a sudden that attack is looking healthy, and if we can bring a really upgrade marquee right winger, whether it be a Neto or a Bakayoko or something like that, I think all of a sudden you're comparing our front line to the teams above us, and it's starting to stack up a lot more healthier than it was last season, I think. And especially if you consider Brennan, you're hoping he would improve on last season where he got 15 goal contributions. Obviously, Sonny's going to be back out on the left, but we know what kind of numbers he can put up in either the striker position or the left as well. So I really think that attack is starting to take shape now if we can get a marquee winger.
Yeah. It does heavily rely on that, in my opinion. Like if we don't get that winger in from now until the end of the window, we're leaving ourselves short. That's the reality. There's some quotes here from Bournemouth manager Androni Iraola on Dominic Solanke, and he says, "I feel like he's happy here. He's already training with the group. We cannot control everything. We don't know how the market is going to finish, but whatever happens, he is a top professional." And when managers start to say, "Oh, whatever happens in this window, this and that," the writing's on the wall usually, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I guess what is an important thing to say is in terms of all these updates, I don't know if any of them have actually said that Tottenham and Bournemouth have struck an agreement. It just what I can see is they're saying that Bournemouth have agreed to sell him for a record fee. Does it say that Tottenham have agreed to pay that record fee yet? I guess
no. It says talks with Tottenham are continuing to finalise the transfer. That's what Ornstein said.
That's what Ornstein. So I guess it's not done yet, and we haven't had a here we go or anything from Romano, but it definitely seems as though we're getting to the final stages of this deal. And sometimes it's not the fanciest name that's the right name. You know what I mean? I remember when Chelsea back in the day when they signed Drogba, like he actually wasn't the fanciest name. I know he'd had a good season out in France. He was actually similar age to Solanke is now. Actually, he's 26 when he signed for Chelsea, and he wasn't the fanciest name, but what he was a really hungry striker. He wanted to prove himself. He wanted to take his game to the next level. And I remember Mourinho was talking about that signing at the moment, and he was saying how Abramovich was like giving him really big names at the time around Europe, like some of the star names. And Drogba was kind of like, obviously he was a good player, but had a good season, a bit like Solanke just had a good season at Bournemouth now. And he was saying, I want that guy because he's the one who's going to really fight to the death for this badge, and he's the one who's going to give his all, and he's going to need to prove himself a bit, and I'm giving him an opportunity to step up his level. And I feel similar in a way to Solanke now. It's like he's not the fanciest name, but he might be the right name.
Yeah, I hope you're right, but I can't sit here with a straight face on and try and compare Drogba to Dominic Solanke at this moment.
I'm not saying in terms of quality, in terms of I'm more talking about like where they're at in their career and what and how they're going to fit into the team.
I get what you're saying, and I do think it will be good for us. I genuinely believe, but there are a lot of fans being out there saying, "Why are we signing Dominic Solanke? Solanke doesn't get into any of the teams in the top 4, top 5." Do you agree with that? And what would you say to them?
I mean, on the face of it, you hear that and you think, oh, does he get into a lot of these top teams? You're thinking maybe not. But then you deep it. Like, does he get into Arsenal over Jesus and Havertz? I mean, you could definitely make a case he might. Does he get
a lot more goals?
Does he get into Liverpool over Darwin Núñez? I mean, you could definitely make a case he might. Does he get into Man United over Xerxes and Højlund? I mean, you could definitely make a case he might. Probably not Newcastle over Isaac. Obviously not Haaland at Man City, but in every other team. I mean, as I've said before, like number 9s right now are not. There's not too many. There's not too many high quality of them. Apart from Watkins, Newcastle, and Watkins, Isaac, and Haaland, you can definitely make a case. He can get in over a lot of those other strikers right now. Obviously, he's not guaranteed. I'm not saying he's well clear of a lot of these other strikers. You could definitely make a case like Tony's better than him and stuff like that. But it's not a foregone conclusion. It's not really clear cut. And I wouldn't I don't think I'm sitting here saying he definitely doesn't get into those teams. Is basically the case. So I would say you could definitely make a case that apart from Watkins, Haaland, and Isaac, like, is there anyone clearly better than him? Probably not.
How many strikers in the Premier League got more goals than him last season?
It was only, I think, only Isaac, Haaland, and Watkins. I think those are the only ones.
Watkins got the same amount of goals, didn't he?
Watkins got the same, but obviously, yeah, he got a lot more assists. But yeah, I think Isaac got 20. How many goals did he get? 21. And then Haaland obviously blew everyone out of the water with 27. But other than that, I don't think anyone got more goals than him last season in the Premier League.
I think there's
apart from obviously Palmer and
Salah. I'm talking about strikers.
Yeah, but apart from when you're looking at strikers, it was just Isaac, Haaland, and Watkins got the same. That was it.
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of reasons to be positive and to be excited about this transfer. Bolsters the front line. It's a guy who knows where the back of the net is, a clinical striker that's going to give us the physical edge up front as well. So I think Spurs fans should be excited about this one. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of kind of toing and froing on social media on this one, like a lot of positive, a lot of negative. But I think Spurs fans should be positive about it. And I guess we'll keep you updated when the Here We Go does come, or the Here We Go comes, hopefully today, but maybe tomorrow. But that is your Tottenham update today. And I think tomorrow Spurs have a friendly at the Tottenham Hotspur against Bayern Munich. Kane and Dyer are going to be, applauded to the crowd before the game. Maybe we'll have a new striker applauded to the crowd before the game as well.
That would be nice. And hopefully he gets in time to be there for Leicester, because at the moment I'm not sure if Richarlison's going to be fit for that game, so he might need a striker for that game. So I think it's super exciting, and I can't wait to see what he can bring to this team. And I think it's also I'm excited to see what Solanke does once he's stepped up into a better team and he's got better players around him, if he can carry on his form and really step it up. So I for one, I can't wait to see what he does in the Spurs shirt.
Absolutely. So that's the news today. We've got the Emerson Here We Go to Milan after many weeks of talking about just the same update over and over again. And David Ornstein has confirmed that Bournemouth have agreed to sell Dominic Solanke for a club record fee, and Tottenham and Bournemouth are continuing to work on the transfer to finalise it. So hopefully we'll get some more news in the coming hours. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.